150,000 riders from around the globe embarked on the Zwift Academy journey. Now, just 10 contestants remain for the finals.
I just feel so lucky that I'm here.
I've come all this way from Australia to win this pro contract. I'm not going home without it.
To win, they will need to impress the pro team judges.
We are really looking to see some aggressive racing.
And the professional cyclist superstars from ALTON Phoenix and Canyon SRAM.
They're not going to get this opportunity elsewhere, and they're not going to get this opportunity again.
Come on, what are you waiting for?
It's the opportunity of a lifetime to win a pro team contract.
2 of you will be leaving the competition tonight.
This is the Zwift Academy Finals.
Starting tomorrow, it's going to be war.
Coming up on the Zwift Academy, there's drama in the mountains.
Gloves are off, full gas.
You know, this is just mano a mano. It's like a full send.
The finalists reach their limits.
Come on, Imogen, come on!
And the judges send another rider home.
The 2 riders leaving ahead of the final day are
Hello and welcome back to the Zwift Academy Finals. It is now day 4 and we're still recovering from the shock of losing 2 of our competitors last night in an elimination.
Yeah, we all are, aren't we? That was super tough. Today, though, the judges will continue in their search for cycling's next big stars.
You see some blokes just turn up with a coffee van. Should we have a break?
Yes, very convenient, that, isn't it? I'll have a flat white, please. Yeah.
Good morning, finalists. We hope that you've recovered from the shock of last night. I'm not entirely sure we have,
No, we haven't just yet. We have provided coffee for you this morning, and you might need a bit of a pick-me-up for today's ride because it involves a lot of elevation gain. In fact, you'll be taking on most of Mallorca's most famous climbs, and including, at the end of it, the most famous of them all, and probably the toughest, Sa Calobra, 9 kilometres, an average gradient of 7%.
Right, espressos all round?
Yes, we need them.
So excited to do some big bergs.
Yeah.
Some climbing.
9K at 7%.
They'll probably make us do a challenge where you have to keep up with the Nepal.
Going down.
You have to keep up with him or no contract?
Yeah. I can do it.
Now, what the riders don't know yet is that although they're riding up Sa Calobra, they're also racing it, aren't they? Now, Lars from SRAM is holding his riders back until the last 3K when the gloves come off. ALTON Phoenix, meanwhile, are going to set their riders off from the very bottom.
Oh, 9 kilometres. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they deal with such a tough test, psychologically and also physically, because there's a lot of cumulative fatigue from the last few days, isn't there?
There is. Good coffee goes a long way, but it can't hide everything.
No.
We're just out on a training ride today. I think we've got 5 hours on the cards. We'll see what the contestants can put out on the climb.
We are mostly here to just see what they are capable of riding their bike, handling skills, and that's also really important to be a good pro cyclist. Yeah, today we might put in some surprise attacks just to see how they react. If they react, then it would be cool.
Ja, maar ze stond op 2, hè?
He was so proud that he could stay next to you yesterday. He was really nervous.
The finalists will be riding 130 kilometres across the Serra de Tramontana mountain range, taking on some of Mallorca's toughest climbs, including Col de Soller, the mighty Puigmayor, and finishing on the fearsome Sa Calobra, where things will get spicy.
Right, I've got massive imposter syndrome, but as you can see, I've jumped in with the ALTON Phoenix guys and the male Zwift Academy finalists just to try and get the insight from within the bunch. It'll be a quick bit of insight because they're currently training, well, they're making me do about 360 watts sat on the back. So it's quite a brisk ride, but yeah, I'm gonna try and grab some of the contestants, see if I can have a word with them. Cooper, how's it going?
We climbed the first one, it was about 7K, and then ripped the descent, which was sick. So getting taught a few lessons here and there, but yeah, it's been a nice start to the ride.
Did you manage to keep up with the guys on the descent?
Yeah, I was mixing it with the boys, and you know, you sort of block out that filter, but it was all safe, so it was all right.
What do you make about Matthew doing his efforts?
Hopefully in a few years I'll be able to keep up with him. Hopefully next year I'll be able to keep up with him. I was in the track program for a few years back in Australia in a state sports institute, and it just didn't work out how I would have hoped, and obviously I got kicked out of the program, so I turned my attention to road, and I self-funded a trip to Belgium just to put myself in front of some different people and have an opportunity of a lifetime. Ever since then I've just been loving the road, and yeah, I found the passion for the sport again. I also work at a sunglass shop called Shade Shop. There you go. Try those on, see how they feel. And yeah, I've got a wide variety of Oakleys. I like to have like one of everything, and just, some people say you gotta look good to go good. It's just one extra thing that you can build confidence from. Yeah, in Australia, we don't have the same opportunities that Europe have or the rest of the world. So the Zwift Academy is an extremely good opportunity to put yourself in front of the right people. I'm super prepared for the final, and I do not want to leave any stone unturned. I've come here to win this contract, and I'm not going home without it.
The primary aim of this training ride is to put a lot of stress on the riders' bodies, so that at the end of it, the judges get an idea of what power they can produce in a fatigued state.
So we've done a lot of climbing already today, Ronnie, and the riders still don't know that they've got to race up Sa Calobra as opposed to just riding up Sa Calobra.
I think it's more a mental test than a physical test for them, that they have a competition going on one of the probably most demanding climbs on the island.
Yeah.
We've come up north to where the mountains are, so I don't know what the first climb was called, but we went into Soler. Now I think we're on Val Major, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot of climbing today.
So I started riding in about 2017. I was doing some mountain biking and triathlons just for fun. So in 2018, January, I started getting coached and was kind of, you know, for fun, just looking to get Strava QOMs in Bermuda and to do some of the racing. And I ended up doing pretty well. So I got asked to represent Bermuda for the Caribbean Championships that year. I came second in the road race there, which qualified me for the Pan American Games in 2019. So I started training for that. At the time I was working as a lawyer. And then in Peru in 2019, I came 7th in the time trial and 10th in the road race, which was, you know, a bit of a shock for everybody. But yeah, based on those results, quit my job at the end of 2019. Winning the pro contract for me would really validate everything that I've done up to this point. You know, I think a lot of people, when I first quit my job, were surprised that I was taking up cycling full-time at age 29, 30. I think it would just make it tangible for people that come from a small island like Bermuda, that there is a pathway to becoming a pro cyclist.
I'm feeling pretty good. It's pretty cool to be like in the mountains like these. We don't really have these at home, so yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to the rest of the ride.
Outside of cycling, I'm a student. I'm doing my master's at the moment in public health, and then I also work just part-time doing some swim coaching as well. Yeah, so Alex and I are both just down the road from each other. So we're on the same bunch ride on Wednesday with the ARA team. And so when we were both doing Zwift Academy, we were kind of supporting each other, and we'd keep in contact with what workouts we were up to, and we'd chat about it. So it was pretty unreal really when we both got into the top 5 and came across to Spain together. It's been pretty cool to do that. Yeah, I think winning the contract at the end of the week would be pretty big and like pretty unreal, I think, for me.
As well as displaying impressive power numbers, the pro team judges will also be looking to see how the finalists tackle the fast and winding mountain descents, another key attribute needed by pro riders. And the first signs of cracks appear. It's diesel engine Sam who is dropped by the bunch almost immediately on the descent of Soyer.
That's quite a gap, isn't it?
Yeah, and once you lost it,
he's dropped already, and there's not even a race.
Yeah, and now the difficult part is coming because now he's alone.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can try to find a bit of the correct lines from the experienced guys. You can be very, very strong uphill and being in an early break or something in a Grand Tour or whatever. But if you come on top and you lose every time 1 minute, 1.5, you can't win the stage that way.
And whilst the women descend Sa Calobra, it's Imogen who seems to be struggling with bike handling on this technical descent.
And are you sensing that this is an area Imogen needs to work on? Yeah, but you see already like how one rider approaches the switchbacks, for instance. If she can handle that in a bunch or not, or if she's skilled or not.
With the male finalists at the bottom of the climb, it was time to deliver some important news.
You've got 2 big climbs in the legs already. This, as you've just seen on the descent, is something else entirely. And Christoph's got a bit of a surprise for you.
Well, a surprise. We are at the bottom of the climb now, so you know what's coming up. Or you can go for a swim, or we race it up again, okay? And really race it up.
So 4 of you, gloves are off, full gas, winner's the first one to the top. All right?
So I just found out that all us boys are gonna go head to head on Sa Calobra. You know, this is just mano a mano, just like a full send.
It's going to be really, really challenging. I think I'm going to have to be very smart and watch the moves and just play to my strengths.
The record for Sa Calobra currently stands at 24 minutes 54 seconds for the men and 30 minutes 40 seconds for the women. As well as being perhaps the most dramatic climb you'll ever see, it's also plenty tough. At 9.44 kilometres long and 7% gradient, a pure climber should have the edge. But it's not so steep that a more powerful rider is going to be completely out the running. 3, 2, 1, go. Good luck, boys. Enjoy. Sam has the burden of setting the early tempo, but the pressure is on flyweight BYRON, and he knows it. He's launched almost at the very bottom of the climb. Sam has steadily picked up his pace, but he's getting no help from Cooper or Alex.
All together again.
All together, but for a moment, because BYRON is off again, and this time he looks like he's put Sam in difficulty.
think he wants to avoid attacks by setting his hard pace.
Yeah.
Something he likes the most.
Three kilometres in and it's all back together until Alex launches his first attack.
This was the typical example of the punchers against the TT guy.
And the TT guy is once again out the back, but cracks are appearing in Cooper too. There is daylight between him and the rest for the first time. Like the Terminator, Sam won't be beaten. He overtakes Cooper and claws his way back before yet another attack. The judges have to be impressed with this, surely. Alex and Byron work together to reel him back in, and then once again, there were three. Alex looks like he's growing with confidence, and with just 3 kilometres to go, he launches another attack and is more committed than before. The high tempo proves just too much for Byron. The gap is now beginning to open to our pure climber. But his tenacity and fighting spirit is a thing to behold. He's down, but not out. His dream is hanging in the balance. And then suddenly, Alex is dropped too.
Hey!
Come on,
Come on, eh? What are you waiting for?
Punch it!
Christoph is urging Alex to ride to his strengths, quickly close that gap, and then try and recover in Sam's slipstream. Sam surges past our superstars. What do they make of this, I wonder? It's still so close, but they are flying. And then, just like that, on Sa Calobra's iconic loop, Alex regains Sam's wheel. 700 to go. It's diesel versus turbo. Who has anything left in the tank? Alex on the front, Sam poised to strike. And with Jay Vine, last year's winner, fittingly looking on, it's Alex who has just enough to take the sprint. Sam suffers his first defeat of the competition, and Alex takes his first win, and in impressive style. It's Byron who rolls in to take third, and Cooper fighting all the way to the line in fourth.
How you feeling about that, mate?
A little bit disappointed, but yeah, I gave it everything. I went a bit hard maybe in the beginning, but so I started coming back in the end, but just couldn't get back in time.
Now our male finalists are up and over Sa Calobra. That was some race. Our women are somewhere a few hairpins below me now. My eyes are trained on that stretch of road. And actually, I'm not entirely sure who's going to be taking this one, because this is a long old effort, even with Lars putting the brakes on until a few kilometres to go. I don't know. It's anyone's race, isn't it?
As Si mentioned, the women's race is a shorter one than the men's, with Coach Lars wanting to see how they respond to a different type of effort. For the first part of the climb, they will ride as a group at a steady tempo, and then with 3.2 kilometres to go, they'll stop briefly to compose and ready themselves before racing to the top as a group. With that distance and a 7% gradient, it means the finalists are going to experience around 10 minutes of all-out suffering.
So do you think that this challenge should suit Rachel because she's so much lighter than the others?
I would think so.
After the countdown from Lars, they set off, and Rachel's exuberance and nerve see her struggling to clip in. That leaves Maud on the front very briefly, before Imogen decides that she wants to set her own pace at the front of the quartet. That's exactly what she does.
Well, it's interesting that Imogen has just gone to the front and hasn't looked around once.
Not at all, huh?
No,
so far?
Don't think so.
For the first half of the test, the other 3 contestants seem more than content to let Imogen do all the work.
Yeah, there's no technical aspect in that entire approach towards this. It's like, okay, uphill, go fast as possible, maybe someone drops.
Yeah, it's like she's doing mountain domestique duties at the moment.
Yeah.
It's not long though before someone decides they need to step it up a gear, and that person is Rachel.
Oh, Rachel's gone.
Yeah.
Come on, Imogen, come on!
Oh, here they come, here they come. Oof, it's looking tight actually at this stage.
As the line fast approaches, Rachel, Maud and Caitlin are locked together. But an acceleration from Maud sees daylight open up to Rachel, who is perhaps paying for her earlier attacks. Caitlin is distanced soon after, and it's another exceptional performance from Maud that sees her win the Sa Calobra challenge.
Go on, Caitlin, all the way to the line. That's it, take it to the line. Well done.
So the last 500 metres was just like one of the hardest things I think I've done. And that climb's like nothing like I've ever raced on.
I've never done a switchback before, so I had a couple of those today. They were a bit interesting. I absolutely buried myself crossing that finish line.
Have you seen any of the finalists that you think, yeah, she's definitely got what it takes?
Yeah.
Have you got
who, but yes.
you got a favourite?
Yeah, yeah. Personality-wise and on the bike also super strong and skills-wise too.
Okay, go on, tell me who it is.
That's for me to know, you find out.
With the Sa Calobra hill climbs done, it's time to catch up with the pro team judges to hear their thoughts on our finalists ahead of the second elimination.
Okay, guys, that was a properly good ride today and a fantastic race. I was on the edge of my seat. I hope you were too. Should we start? We go through the riders in reverse order of how they finished up Sa Calobra. Firstly then, it's Cooper.
Oh, I was not expecting that Sam was making the pace so soon, so hard. So I was thinking that Cooper could have made some extra time to get up the climb and find his rhythm a bit. And I would have expected a bit more attacks instead of the steady tempo that Sam made.
Next up, we had BYRON.
With 60 kilos, going up a longer climb because the effort was maybe a bit too short to make the difference on the last climb. Today a 30-minute climb, we thought okay, if you really put some power to weight out of it, then he should end up as the best.
And then next up we had Sam. Now before we got to Sa Calobra, Sam was way out the back on the descents, wasn't he? What was your take on that, Christoph?
That was the issue that we were afraid of, his bike handling on the road, and unfortunately he has proven today that there's a lot of work to do.
He is 71 kilos on the long climb also today. He just set at a pace that almost killed all the guys.
Lastly then, let's turn to Alex.
The one thing he has to learn, I think, is there's always a bit space in suffering. You can always suffer a bit more. And the one who suffers the most is mostly the winner as well.
He just loves to race a bike. That's maybe a bit the difference with some of the other guys.
So starting with Imogen.
Well, maybe that was her plan, to just do it a real long effort, thinking that she might have an advantage over Rachel on a longer sustained effort. But yeah, then kind of giving up too early. Fighting spirit was a bit missing then towards the end, so she kind of saw that her tactic wasn't working and then was like, okay, game over.
On third place, and that was Rachel.
I think it was really great to see, like, we saw some fighting spirit on the second day, and she showed that again today. Like, she really tried to say, okay, what can I do, what can I try, and being like that sort of aggressive character on the bike that I mean, that plays to an advantage when you're in a race situation. That's the sort of thing that we're actually looking for.
Moving on to second place then, that went to Caitlin again.
She really had tried it, and I think she took her tactics that she did 2 days ago, and she's like, okay, that didn't work, I'm going to try something different. And she sort of went into what Maud has been doing, actually just sort of sitting in the back almost and like watching the others and then trying to play there. So for that, like, you know, change of tactics and trying to really read the situation, it would have been nice to see her like rewarded with being able to get that win. But I mean, as we saw, that Maud was, yeah, she's difficult to beat on that climb.
Yeah, didn't stop Caitlin smiling, but then nothing does it? Right, on to Maud.
Yeah, she's calculating her surrounding there. She did that in the points race on Zwift, really knowing how many points she has had, even so they were not on display. I mean, calculating who's next, and she really looks what is going on, and I think that is a big advantage of her.
So given the characteristics you're looking for in a rider, specifically riding characteristics, I guess that then riding on Zwift will allow you to take a deep dive into all the data and really pull out the type of rider that you want.
Yeah, I'm looking for a rider that has the right level, but then in that she needs to be able to have that shorter pushes to be able to withstand race situations and not just be a pure time trialist with the highest power for 20-30 minutes, and that's it.
Good evening, finalists. Day 4, would you believe, and another cracking day, riding some of the world's best roads alongside some of the world's best bike riders.
And you, Si, don't forget.
Yes.
Although thankfully for the riders, and rather understandably, you weren't there that long, were you?
No, not long at all. Now, unfortunately, for 2 of you tonight, the dream will end here. 2 of you will be leaving the Zwift Academy ahead of the final challenge tomorrow.
But we are going to start with some good news, because though all of you impressed the judges for various reasons today, 2 of you in particular stood out to them. So, our female rider of the day today is Rachel. Well done. So amongst the things that impressed them about you today was how you tackled that final challenge. It was clear you knew your strengths and weaknesses versus the other riders, and although it didn't work out with the win, you couldn't have played it any better.
So the male rider of the day is Alex. Well done, Alex. Yeah. Ultimately, the guys were super impressed with how you rode Sa Calobra today. You won the challenge, and also, and very importantly, you dug really deep to reel Sam back in ahead of the line for that sprint. So well done. Now, that does lead us on to the heartbreaking task, I'm afraid, where we'll be delivering the news from the judges as to who will be leaving tonight.
So, the 2 riders leaving ahead of the final day are Imogen
and BYRON. Sorry, guys. Well done.
Well done.
Yeah, we sent BYRON home today. Expected actually a bit more today on Sa Calobra of him. We had a long climb, a 30-minute climb. He is the lightweight rider, 60 kilos. Expected him to confirm he has something to us. I think that's the main reason why he went home.
Today, yeah, it was a climbing day, and just a day where I should have maybe performed a bit better than I did. So I sort of had a gunch feeling that I would probably head home. But yeah, just thankful to ALTON, Zwift, and everyone that made this possible. If I have the opportunity to do it again, I'll definitely be back.
Certainly, I did feel like I was in danger of getting sent home, but I'm obviously very relieved to go through to the final round tomorrow.
I mean, there were a few areas we've just seen that we thought, okay, compared to the other 3 finalists, then Imogen isn't as strong as them in those areas at the moment. And so, you know, basically that's how we came to the choice, really.
Yeah, 3 guys to go now. For sure, they are really, really close together on level. So tomorrow is still a hard day for the riders and also for us to to judge and to pick out the real winner of the Academy.
And so, 2 more incredibly talented riders are eliminated from the Zwift Academy Finals. They can head home with their heads held high, but there's no doubt that choosing the next pro cyclist takes no prisoners.
No, not at this stage it doesn't, does it? We are heading rapidly towards the finale of the Zwift Academy, aren't we? Can you believe it? From 150,000 people that entered this competition, Zwifting from every corner of the world, in their bedrooms, in their basements and their living rooms. We're now down to 6.
6 riders, though, that are 1 step closer to gaining that contract with either Alpecin Fenix or Canyon SRAM.
Tomorrow, we find out who the 2 next pro cyclists are. Should we go to the bar?
What? You haven't got a date with Vanderpool?
No, not tonight. I mean, I said, did he want to come and do wheelies in the car park with me? And his manager said, can I give him a bit of space? I mean, his exact words were, stop stalking Matthew, but I don't think that's what he meant.
I'm sorry, mate.
Yeah,
let's go to the bar.
All right, cheers, mate.
Next time on the Zwift Academy Finals, the finalists go head-to-head for the last time. The pro contracts are on the line.
You know, it just comes down to this one Zwift race.
I'm just trying to give everything and see what it will bring.
It's just going to be hell for leather.
And 2 finalists will go home as professional bike racers.
And those 2 riders are